Lewis Hamilton is not the only driver who has spoken out against pre-season testing. One major argument against the 3 days of testing is that drivers only get 3 sessions, or a day and a half, to get used to the car. Many of the older drivers have argued that there is not enough time for the new rookies entering the sport to adapt to F1 cars. During a press conference at the Bahrain International Circuit, Hamilton was asked if his feelings about testing had changed. He said, "No, I'm still not a fan of testing, but I really enjoyed the testing I did this year." This season marks the beginning of a new chapter in Hamilton's career. Now, the British driver wears the color red. Hamilton continued, I'm very grateful for the testing I did with previous cars. If I had only this day and a half, I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am now in terms of how comfortable I feel with the car." He admits there's still a long way to go with the SF25, but adds that right now, I'm really excited to get racing. Another major headline is that Charles Leclerc left Formula One preseason testing in Bahrain with mixed feelings about the performance of the new Ferrari SF25. Although the mild temperatures in Saka made simulations a bit more challenging, the Monegasque driver gave a statement similar to his teammate Lewis Hamilton, saying that the new Italian machine has balance issues and that the team still has a lot of work to do to resolve the situation. Over the 3 days of pre-season testing, Leclerc completed 220 laps with the SF25 and was consistently near the top of the timesheets. And while he said that the simulator numbers translated to on-track performance, Ferrari's number 16 admitted that the new car still suffers mainly from a lack of balance. "We are seeing the numbers we expected, even though at times we struggled a bit more to manage the balance, so there's still some work to do." Without a doubt, the weather played quite an important role over these days, not only in terms of temperature but also the wind, Leclerc pointed out. "I would wait a little longer before making any predictions. We have a lot of work to do, and right now, we are working hard to try and improve the balance. We struggled a bit in the last 2 days. It's a bit difficult to confirm the feelings because I don't think I've ever experienced Bahrain like this before. It was cold, it was rainy. These are not the temperatures we are used to. So it's hard to compare with previous years when we had warmer conditions," Leclerc concluded. With collective testing officially over, the next event for Formula One is the season opener, the Australian Grand Prix. Redbull was a team that completed the fewest laps in pre-season testing, faced reliability issues, and despite an optimistic start, the final day of testing revealed a more apprehensive team. Should the Austrian team be worried ahead of the season as they aim to reclaim the top spot in Formula One? The devil is in the details. That's how Red Bull team principal Christian Horner understands the RB21 project, the first without the signature of the legendary Adrian Newey. The phrase was said before the new car hit the track, and it now makes even more sense as the team evaluates its real performance and inevitable comparisons with its main rivals. The fact is that the Red Bull squad endured 3 intense days of testing in Bahrain and left the pre-season feeling that there is much to be done. Quite a different scenario from 12 months ago when there was still an impression that the energy drink giant was heading toward another dominant year. At this moment, the story appears different. The engineers, led by Pierre Wash, opted for a simpler and cleaner design, aiming to expand the car's operating window, a factor that cost them the 2024 world title. The truth is, the navy blue car seems to have potential because, at times, it showed performance comparable to rival McLaren. However, there are more questions than answers at this stage. Max Verstappen's discomfort in the final session on Friday, 28, spoke volumes about the reigning 5-time champion team's journey. This feeling is confirmed by the way the Austrian team handled pre-season testing. Besides logging the fewest laps in Saka, just 304 compared to Mercedes 458, the team that ran the most, the energy drink outfit also faced technical issues and was unable to complete full race simulations. On the first day, Verstappen stepped out of the car talking about positive surprises and assuring that everything was under control because it couldn't be worse than last year. However, the following sessions told a different story. The team encountered reliability problems early on and had to deal with additional setbacks. During the session in which Liam Lawson, Sergio Perez's substitute, took over the car, a loss of water pressure in the engine cost the team significant track time and limited aerodynamic testing, simulations, and a deeper evaluation of tire behavior. In the end, the team completed only short stints with the 7th best time of the day. Of course, Lap times are never a benchmark in tests like these, but the session was more chaotic than Red Bull had planned. The next day, Verstappen took over the RB21 with a mission of gathering more data and effectively testing different setups and car components, starting with a revised front wing, one of Red Bull's key areas of concern in 2024. The team introduced a new nose and front wing on Friday. The design aimed to improve airflow under the car and enhance overall balance. The new front of the car, which isn't entirely new, as the team used a similar concept in 2022 under the current regulations, features a shorter nose, ending at the penultimate element of the front wing. This follows the same philosophy currently used by direct rival Ferrari and McLaren. Verstappen spent a good amount of time testing the new front assembly, as part of Red Bull's goal to suffer less on bumpy tracks and higher curbs. Additionally, the team also decided to evaluate a new floor. However, the Dutchman did not feel comfortable with the component, and the team quickly reverted to the original version after just a few laps. Another clear issue throughout the final session was that Max was fighting the car more. The car was understeering, causing significant imbalance. As a result, the engineers had to make setup changes and other adjustments. Consequently, the four-time champion had more difficulty controlling the RB21. The late session spin was no accident. "I'm not as satisfied as I could be," acknowledged Wash after the Bahrain tests. "The testing didn't go as well as we had hoped, but it's better to find problems here than later in the season. That's exactly what we're here for, to understand the car," he added. "The weather wasn't on our side and isn't really representative of this track, but we tried to explore the car's potential and understand how it reacts to different setups. I think we succeeded for the most part. And it's safe to say that the four top teams were fast. We are one of them, but we focus on our own program," the engineer continued. Indeed, Red Bull can factor in the cooler weather in Bahrain, as it certainly complicates the general analysis of the car's behavior. Additionally, the strong winds raise questions about aerodynamic efficiency. One crucial point remains. Although they didn't conduct a full race simulation, Verstappen was able to show speed and compensate for the RB21 setup. Even in shorter stint compared to the competition, Max displayed solid pace. So, when he called it a decent day at the end of Friday, it can be interpreted as meaning Red Bull potentially has a better car than the one that finished last season, though it still needs more mileage to unlock performance and catch up to McLaren, which seems well prepared for the season opener. So yes, there are concerns in the Austrian garages before the championship begins, because, as Horner rightly said, the devil is in the details. Formula One pre-season testing has long been a contentious subject among teams, drivers, and fans alike. The recent testing sessions in Bahrain have once again ignited debates about the adequacy of the allotted 3 days, the balance of competitive advantage, and the reliability of early season assessments. While some drivers, such as Lewis Hamilton, have expressed their continued dissatisfaction with the brevity of testing, others like Charles Leclerc have pointed out deeper concerns about the unpredictability of pre-season performance and the difficulties in interpreting test results accurately. Perhaps the most intriguing development from this year's pre-season testing has been Red Bull's unexpected struggles, raising the question, should they be worried? The issue of limited testing days. One of the most frequently discussed problems with pre-season testing is a restricted time each driver has to acclimate to their new machinery. In a sport where precision and confidence are paramount, giving drivers a mere 3 days to fine-tune their approach before heading into the first Grand Prix of the season seems woefully insufficient. Hamilton has been vocal about his reservations, despite acknowledging that he personally benefited from the sessions this year. For younger or rookie drivers, however, this limited exposure to their new car can be a severe handicap. Formula One cars are immensely complex, requiring a deep understanding of their balance, aerodynamics, and mechanical behavior. A day and a half of testing per driver before racing under real conditions is barely enough to scratch the surface. Furthermore, pre-season testing is often conducted in conditions that do not fully replicate those found in actual race weekends. This year's unusually cool and windy conditions in Bahrain added another layer of complexity, making it harder for teams to extract meaningful data. With drivers already under pressure to maximize every minute of their limited track time, such unpredictability only amplifies the challenges. Ferrari, signs of hope or continued struggles. Charles Leclerc's mixed reaction to Ferrari's pre-season testing highlights another crucial aspect of the sport, the balance between optimism and caution. Ferrari, having spent years trying to close the gap to Red Bull, seems to have developed a car that possesses both speed and potential. However, Leclerc and Hamilton have both noted issues with balance, which could indicate that Ferrari is once again struggling with consistency. Ferrari's biggest problem in recent years has been its inability to deliver a car that remained competitive across various circuits. While pre-season testing does not always provide an accurate measure of a car's true competitiveness, it can expose fundamental weaknesses. Leclerc's comments suggest that while Ferrari may have made progress, there are still unresolved issues that could hinder their performance throughout the season. It is also important to consider Ferrari's historical trend of starting seasons strongly before fading as development races progress. Their car appears to be competitive in short bursts, but the real test will come in the first few race weekends when tire degradation, fuel loads, and race strategy will play a bigger role. Red Bull's uncharacteristic woes, a sign of trouble? Red Bull's struggles in Bahrain were perhaps the most unexpected storyline of pre-season testing. The reigning champions, who dominated last season with apparent ease, appeared vulnerable across multiple fronts. The RB21 suffered from reliability concerns, a lack of balance, and a general inconsistency that has raised questions about whether Red Bull can maintain its position at the top. Team principal Christian Horner's remark that the devil is in the details is particularly telling. Red Bull's philosophy in recent years has been one of aggressive aerodynamic innovation, led by the legendary Adrian Newey. However, with Newey reportedly stepping back from direct involvement in the RB21 project, the car's initial performance issues have led to speculation about whether the team can maintain its previous standards without his expertise. The biggest concern for Red Bull should be their comparative lack of mileage. Completing fewer laps than any other top team means that Red Bull enters the first Grand Prix of the season with less data, less setup refinement, and a greater reliance on in-race learning. While Verstappen's raw talent and adaptability can mitigate some of these disadvantages, it is undeniable that the team would have preferred a smoother pre-season. Yet, it is also important to temper expectations regarding Red Bull's supposed decline. Teams often sandbag during pre-season, hiding their true pace to avoid giving away too much information to rivals. Verstappen himself noted that things couldn't be worse than last year, a statement that suggests that despite the challenges, the team still believes in the car's potential. The broader implications for the 2025 season. What does all of this mean for the upcoming season? Firstly, we should approach pre-season testing results with a degree of skepticism. Historically, teams that struggle in testing can still turn things around quickly once the real racing begins. Conversely, teams that appear dominant in testing may not always maintain their performance when conditions change. Mercedes, for instance, has been relatively quiet during testing, but their reliability and high mileage suggest that they have made solid progress. McLaren, too, appears to have taken a significant step forward, with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri looking increasingly comfortable behind the wheel. The midfield battle, which was already tight last year, could be even more competitive this season, with Aston Martin, Alpine, and Williams all showing promising signs. For Ferrari and Red Bull, the key will be how they respond in the first few races. If Ferrari can iron out their balance issues quickly, they may pose a serious threat to Red Bull's supremacy. If Red Bull can solve their reliability concerns, then Verstappen will almost certainly be back at the front, competing for victories. However, if their pre-season struggles are indicative of deeper underlying issues, the championship battle could be far more open than in recent years. Conclusion: a season of uncertainty? Pre-season testing is always a period of uncertainty, speculation, and cautious optimism. This year has been no different. While Hamilton and Leclerc's concerns about the brevity of testing remain valid, the biggest story emerging from Bahrain is a potential shakeup at the top of the grid. Ferrari seems poised to be a stronger contender, yet their persistent balance issues may hold them back. Red Bull, uncharacteristically struggling, faces reliability problems and concerns about the RB21 performance. Meanwhile, teams like McLaren and Mercedes lurk in the background, waiting to capitalize on any weaknesses from the leading contenders. Ultimately, the true performance hierarchy will only become clear once the lights go out in Melbourne. Until then, all we have are hints, concerns, and speculation, but that is what makes Formula One so thrilling. As the saying goes, the real test begins when the racing starts, and this season is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable